Isn't this interesting? The whole thing. Just like examining your mind and seeing what's really there. I used to suffer a lot, in my early 20s particularly. And that's what led me on this path. The suffering has a purpose. I didn't want to suffer, and I could see people that weren't suffering things that I was suffering, so I knew there was a way. I'm fascinated by these conversations. Because there's so much misunderstanding and misperception, and that's leading to all the problems and the suffering in the world. This is not a small thing that we're up to here. We end our suffering, and then we just will inevitably help others end theirs, just by being in the world. Conscious person, two people are getting into some aggravation, maybe even getting to an argument, maybe even getting to a fight, and a conscious person standing there can bring that energy right down to back to nothing, just by not knowing that they don't have to participate in it. So we have a few more minutes before we meditate. Are there any questions, comments? I always wonder what's going on in your heads. I wish you could see from my point of view. I see people just constantly staring and doing this and looking, and then I look at them and then they look away. You know what I mean? And then
Yeah, I have a question.
Sure.
So, the preface, though, I love that analogy or my understanding of when you said Santa Claus earlier, and your whole world is revolved around Santa Claus and belief and happy and joy when you're a little kid, and then all of a sudden you find out there isn't a Santa Claus, and you're still fine. There may be a little confusion there. I was like, boy, I never really thought of it that way. So I'm so identified with this guy. If you asked me who I was, I'd tell you this, and this. And when you said, are there any questions, I'm going, so I'm kind of in this, all right, that's the illusion, but I'm going to replace it with now I'm this guy over here, this, and this. So I don't know even how I would answer that question in a sense.
yeah, I mean, you don't want to just, create another bigger and better illusion, of who you are. You want to transcend it. You want to go beyond all concepts, including the concept of yourself. Just forget about it. Just forget about who you think you are. And even who you think you are, there's a lot of other people's opinions that are in that soup. Someone could have came up to you when you were like 6 years old. Some girl in the playground or recess or whatever it is, and said, "Bah, you're ugly," and ran away. And in that moment, in your soup, I'm ugly. And you were this big, and you're living with the decisions of a 6-year-old. And you don't even realize you're doing it. And I'm not saying let's go figure out what all it is. Sometimes I think it's helpful for people to realize what their belief system is about themselves, because that really colors your world, You see what you believe you see about yourself. And it's funny, you'll ask other people what they think of you, and they say all these nice things, and you don't believe them. It's weird the way we are. But, it's, it really is. Like, I don't like people to get too tangled up in the concepts. I'm saying just go past all the concepts and see what's beyond them. What's beyond them is just peace and joy for no reason. It's just the true self. It's this mind-made world and this mind-made person that you made of who you are in your head, and you suffer and suffer and suffer incessantly these ideas. If you think you're a piece of crap, guess what? You're right. You understand that? And you're going to find that everywhere you look. Because your mind is going to interpret everything that way. Oh, I asked this girl out, she didn't call me back. See? You're a piece of crap. Nobody wants you. That's just your mind making shit up. That's all that is. That's all it is. And we're just so good at crucifying ourselves. It's just, it's so uh, optional and unimportant, our own mind's opinion of ourselves and things. But it's all in your head. It is like you said before, you know what I mean? You begin to see things more clearly, or like you said something like that you begin to see dysfunction more clearly. Because you're stepping out and you're seeing the world the way the world is without your bias, your mind's bias coloring it anymore. You know? You're a little kid and your dad's hitting you with a belt and you think, oh man, this person loves me and I don't know what I did wrong and all this other stuff. From an enlightened perspective, you realize, hey, this asshole is crazy and he shouldn't be doing this, and what the hell is going on in like Bizarro land here where I live? You know? It's it's so strange. Like the more clearly you see this world, and it's not a judgment of it. It's like it is really, really bizarre. It is really, human behavior is so programmed and automatic. People are really like programmed robots unconsciously acting out their programming. And so all of this undesired stuff comes. And that's the interesting thing about it. It's all of this undesired stuff that's manifesting. So you know that is not happening consciously. Because we would never manifest that stuff consciously. Consciously, we do everything we can to not manifest it. You know what I mean? But you're living in this world that is a conceptual world in your mind. You're living in that. It's not real. So then the question is, what is real? and I just happen to have this 6-week program that you can buy now. Wayne Dyer talked. He mentioned a monk. He didn't say what the monk name was, and I looked for it. I couldn't find it. He said that there was a monk one time that was asked what is real, and the monk said, "That which doth not change." That's what's real. Your ideas of yourself change. Your body changes. Your mind changes. The world changes. Everything is in a constant state of flux. We're not the same people that walked in here an hour and a half ago. But the awareness of all of the changes, has that changed? It's the only thing that matters. The rest is just the play of this human experience. That which is aware, that which was aware when you were in 5th grade looking in the mirror seeing your 5th grade self, and now is looking in the mirror seeing your older self. The body clearly changed. Gray hairs, wrinkles. The self, still fresh as it was then. Unaffected by time. The self that is aware of all of it. That is the realization I am pointing you to. Is to realize the self. The problem you're going to have is you're going to keep thinking about the self. Is this the self? Is that the self? How do I think about the self? Where do I realize the self? And you're just going to be in your mind thinking about the self. That's not being. That's not realization. When you sit on the cushion and you meditate, when you have those moments where you transcend thought, you will be experiencing the self directly. And it's not you experiencing the self. There's not a you experiencing the self. You are the self. And you are experiencing yourself directly. And you are not becoming the self, because you cannot become that which you already are. You are realizing what you are and what you cannot be. So I spend much time hammering on what you cannot be, because that's the only thing that I can really show you conceptually. What's left when you let go of everything that you cannot be, you will not be able to describe either. It is ineffable, but undeniable.